do? We good? We good for live? Oh, probably. Oh. Sit down! Oh, I am old now. My knees hurt. Let's check my emails and everything quick before we start. That looks good. Someone's sending me cool pictures of the Titan suit. That's cool. Not official though. Let's get rid of this and this. Let's bring down. Let's tweet out. Good. What else have we got? Post in the Discord, then close the Discord. Cool. There's that. I think. Let's bring up the funding chart stuff. Funding. Just bear with me 1 second, just to grab a couple of things ready for the stream. Crowdfunding spreadsheet. There we go. That's good. What we got then? Oh, the ArtStation stuff. I forgot to. Oh, I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I forgot to include the pictures. Oh. When my editor's working for me full time, then I won't. Right. Ah. Let's do that. Bear with me 1 second, and I will. I'll go live. Boop 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 boop. There wasn't any exciting skins in the end, was there? No. That's that. We still got degraded performance? We do, apparently. Oh, I'm gonna look at the Star Kitten thing again. Let's get rid of that. Cool. I should be okay volume-wise. Let's noise gate that slightly, actually. Test. Cool. Right, let's click on this button. Hi, how's everyone doing? Hope you are doing well. Let's adjust this slider. Actually, we can put this slider up. And slide it down. That should be right for volume. Yeah? Is that good? Test. Hope everyone is doing well. Oh, man. It is hot in my room today. I'm super busy and a little bit stressed. So, what do we want first? Do we want Star Citizen stuff? Do we want BoredGamer stuff? Do we want my life stuff? So, at the moment, I'm stressed because I'm setting BoredGamer up as a limited company. I'm getting ready to employ Zin, my editor, full-time. And there's a lot of doing for that. There's a reasonable amount of bookkeeping. I get anxiety and stress about a huge range of things, but bookkeeping is one of them, and I pay an accountant to do it. But now I've got to have an accountant to get to the limited accounts and stuff like that as well, and I just hate that sort of stuff. I just want them to do it all for me. What else? I'm sorting out a business account at the moment. And it's hard to do a lot of this stuff during lockdown, so it's quite annoying. Like, I want to have a face-to-face with a business manager so I can open my business account, but I can't do that because we're not allowed to meet. But soon, that stuff, some of that stuff might be eased. But yeah, so super busy and super stressed with that, along with general life things. My dad's doing really well. I'm doing really well, sort of mentally, other than a bit stressed just from a lot of work happening all at once. You'll notice over the next few weeks a couple of videos done by Zin, almost certainly, and she'll be joining me on stream occasionally. And then at the end of June is the sort of like very beginning of July is the rough guesstimate of when she'll actually be working for me full time as an editor, which will be awesome. Because then my videos should see a significant improvement. Not all of them, because I'm going to sort of like focus on 3 different types of video. And one of them will be mostly just me putting out quickly as possible, which will be the quick news ones that don't require as much editing, or that are going to be like between 3 to 6 minutes long. Sort of bam. Send pics of her. Wow. You should have seen her on my streams occasionally. Oh, mate. Yeah, that's rough. You monster. Don't stress, relax. Take a cold beer. Put your feet up. Welcome the board bar. Oh, mate. Pappy Boynton, I hope you're doing well, sir. Congratulations on building a brand large enough to become a company. I mean, you work as a sole trader in the UK, which is basically a business without becoming a limited company, which is what I've been doing for the last, 3 years or so. 4 years, maybe. Name to face. Nothing wrong. No, that's true. There is nothing wrong with that. And at some point she'll join me on stream, probably, and you'll see her. She'll also have her own BoredGamer stream, which she'll do occasionally. I'll let her do the sharing of stuff like that rather than me sharing for her. Do you see what I mean? At least to start with. Do you think the next concept will be that 2-seater ground mining vehicle we saw at CitizenCon 2019? So Star Citizen leaks have suggested that it is that. And it makes sense that it's going to be one of the 4 concept ideas that they had, which was the mining ground vehicle, which is going to have a mining laser on it. It could be up to 2 seats. That sort of stuff that they talked about. You're about to use it, obviously, on the ground to mine. But there was some other ones. There was a Xi'an cargo ship. There was a Tavaran fighter. And there was also a mobile refinery, all of which were ships. But yeah, it makes sense that the mining vehicle could go into game sooner than the others. Especially with CIG pushing towards sort of like a relatively well-rounded mining gameplay loop. When do you think we'll see the Retaliator modules back on sale? we probably won't see the Retaliator modules back on sale until they're almost ready to release them. So there's two possibilities here. Either they'll plan a load of stuff and get ready, they'll have like a load of data that they've gone, right, we're talking about modularity now, bam, this is the Retaliator modules, we've got plans for them, they're going to be in later this year, whatever, bam, 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 bam. Then they'll sell them again with that sort of post, briefly, and then sell them again once it's sort of ready to go, and then remove them and just have them available in-game. That's a sort of like, those sort of things make it most likely for a CIG sale with that stuff. Really hope CIG give better exterior and interior to Retaliator. A slight update. You will see all ships get minor updates to their materials, to their lighting, sometimes very light modelling work, although that's less likely on lots of the ships that are in game now. If you'd like to ask a question in brackets, so it lets me know that you're asking a question, and it allows me to see a bit more easily. Sort of like very quickly pass over stuff that doesn't have question in it. Oh, thank you very much. I am a big, beautiful potato. Oh, yeah, so I've got all this stuff I want to show off today. That is a beautiful little emoji face. Oh, what have I done? Always takes me a while to find the questions here. I recently acquired a Banning Merchantman. Any news on the ship at all? Or basically just in limbo, lol. Thoughts on the price increase and possibly how much it will increase? So, I mean, I could see them going up to between $600 and $800 eventually, the Banning Merchantman, quite genuinely. It's quite a big ship, and there's a lot of utility and a lot going on with it, and it's got alien tax, which they'll eventually put in it. That's my... You asked my opinion, that's my opinion on it. They sort of talked about the Banning Merchantman, and what they had planned for it very briefly recently, and basically they said it required a reconcepting, but the Polaris is further along and requires less concept work than the Banning Merchantman, I think. So it's likely the Polaris will come first before the Banning Merchantman, but there's no active production on the Banning Merchantman beyond sort of like just fleshing out and planning out more of the Banu ships in general, or Banu race in general. Has your channel seen an increase in views that corresponds to the increase in ship sales we have seen lately? Over the last few days, yes. Over the last couple of weeks. We know that the future bounty hunter will incarcerate other players alive in status pods. What will happen to the agency of those players? Frozen ? So they actually answered this in a reasonable amount of detail. The current thinking, although this could change heavily, the current thinking is that once someone has been put in a stasis pod, yeah, they will have the, if they're a player, they will have the option just to wait there or to sleep. And if you sleep, you instantly respawn in prison, and you save your time out there. Although you don't disappear from the pod, they still have to deliver you to get their reward. Thank you very much for the subs. People subbing, people becoming members. Aaron UK or Aaron Huck. I don't know which one it is. Thank you very much. Very, very much appreciated for that sub. And Kim Westby. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated becoming a BoredGamer member. Yourselves, thank you. Price increase for the Polaris? ? We don't know yet. It was quite expensive when it was originally released. So it's already quite high up there. Is it $750 at the moment? I can actually upgrade pledge. So you ever want to see how much a ship is currently worth, and its likely price that doesn't include War Bond, you can always go to the pledge site, the pledge page, and go into upgrades, and then you can see the value of ships currently. So how much is the Polaris currently? $750. And I think it's that's probably relatively accurate for how much the Polaris should be. Between that and $900, I suspect, based on CIG's previous marketing. If it does increase in price once it's flight ready. Oh, thank you very much for all the kind words. I very much appreciated. Hero Shade. Thank you for the great YouTube content. I appreciate that. You pledged yesterday. I hope you didn't spend too much. It's not that I'm going to tell people what to do with their money. It's just that everything can be obtained in game, and you can save that money to give to me instead. Bam! That's easy, isn't it? Nice and easy. Sod White, thank you very much. Pants off, dance. What? Pants off, dance off? No. It's weird though, because I just put trousers on just before I started streaming and referred to it as work to Zin and Kit before I came here. I was like, got to do work in a minute, got to put my trousers on. I had your, that's what we talked about already. Oh, people are giving me money. Thank you. Thank you very much, Robert Keltner, for the lovely. What is it, an avocado flying through the fucking air? I don't know what it is, but it's money, so I like it. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Board IR to body dragging. We know that in the future, bounty hunters will incarcerate other players. Okay, we talked about that already. But yes, so we're going to have body dragging in 3.10, which will literally be the dragging of people that are knocked out or deaded. And then eventually that will be built into missions. We'll see if there's anything in 3.10, we don't know. But there might be some missions, I suppose. But like hiding bodies, disposing of things like that, dragging injured people away so you can give them a medipen, things like that. And people will not just be like, you're reduced to 0 health, you won't just die, you'll be stunned on the ground, you'll be bleeding out. That's sort of like steps towards that medical gameplay. What is the best program for recording in-game footage? Any recommendations? Thanks. So I use OBS, Open Broadcast Software. I use it for all my recording. I use OBS Studio for streaming and Streamlabs OBS for streaming, and then the standard OBS for recording. Just sort of maybe a little archaic thinking now. I'll have a look to see if there's a more efficient way of doing stuff. Your award, I got Shadow Service. How long does it take to get here? It depends where you are and what country and whatever it said when you signed up. The recent roadmap purge has removed quite a big amount of features. Is this happening every year around this time, or is it new? That sort of like just happens. They reprioritize stuff typically at the beginning of the year, for between January and the first quarter patch. They sort of rejig what they're doing when it comes to priorities and stuff like that. They have like a big prioritization meeting, or lots of them, and work out what they're doing throughout the year and that sort of stuff. Obviously, this time with lockdown as well and the global situation, and lots of things like that, CIG working from home, that's caused a few more knock-on effects. But sometimes it's just delays because they've been inefficient, or they've reprioritized something else, or something's happened. So I'm hoping that as we get further down the project, there'll be less and less of stuff, features getting moved and pushed back and delayed. Especially with, there's a big sort of like focus on Squadron 42, and once that's out the door, I do think we'll see quite a lot more improvement to speed of other features on the project. You think we'll get a Crusader capital concept at some point this year? Maybe not this year. So Crusader, for people who don't know, we're getting, well, at least currently planned for Q4 2020. We're getting Horizon, the Crusader landing zone, and part of that is supposed to be at some point the massive capital shipyards that they use to build ships. And Crusader in lore have some big old capital ships for transport and industry purposes. And I think people are hoping that they get put in the game. I don't think we'll see something like that this year. I think they've got too many other concepts that are more viable for them to get into the game sooner. I didn't see the player-to-player Alpha UC transfers on the roadmap. Has it been removed from 3.10? Did it? Was it on the roadmap? Some features just aren't put on the roadmap. But you should see that I just don't think it's actually been put on the roadmap. You should see that for 3.10. They'll probably add it this week. So for people that don't know, there's a finance app that's being put into 3.10, at least that's the plan, allowing you to send funds out of UEC to another player. It's just got that functionality, send to one other player. You can search for that player, and they don't have to be online. So that's pretty good. It actually gives Alpha UEC then a lot more value, and being able to transfer it between people. And I'm interested to see how the game evolves from that. Actually, I'd better plan in some videos getting ready for that. I don't. How likely are we that CIG realise that Quantanium sounds like something a 12-year-old would come up with? Unobtainium. Yeah, we should call it Unobtainium. Imbic. Oh. My current accountant said it was a good idea to become a limited company, so I just listen to what they say. I don't want to have to deal with... I want to have to deal with the minimum amount of responsibility that I can as a businessman. Pay for everyone else to do that that's much better at doing it than me. That's my idea. If I can delegate it to someone else and go, how much is that worth to me? How much is it worth if I get it wrong? I don't want to be fined for doing stuff wrong. I'd get someone else to do it. Or setting up pensions as well. That... Oh, well... Do you think that Kraken Mega Pack will be available again later this year? It's possible they'll sell it again for the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. That's the sort of thing, so that would be like end of November. So this is a Squadron 42 vertical slice that's playing in the background. It's the Star Citizen single-player campaign. Does the development of Squadron 42 influence the normal Star Citizen verse? So the development, yes, very much so. The lion's share of development is going into Squadron 42, and it is shared assets and shared engine. So anything that goes into one effectively goes into both. Obviously, like individual cinematics and individual models of specific characters, maybe not. Individual locations that work towards them, and some of those assets will be used. But if you see what I mean. But very much so, like the work on Squadron 42 is taking the focus to development at the moment. Do you think the Corsair will be flyable this year? I mean, it's possible if CIG are working on it now, but I don't think they are. Do you know something about the Pro release? They wanted it released in 2020 Pro. Whether or not that's still the case remains to be seen. I think it's more likely early 2021 now, but they haven't made a statement on Pro being delayed yet. Do you think the Corsair and the Vulture could come out by the end of the year? I think the Vulture is a possibility if they are further along with Salvage than... So they recently talked about Salvage and basically said that there's work going towards some of the Salvage gameplay in the near future, and they didn't give any hard times or deadlines for it. It's a possibility we'd have Salvage by the end of the year, but that looks less likely now as well. I noticed that Squadron 42 gameplay has a lot more detail than the current Star Citizen gameplay. Oh, so, I mean, this is from 2017, end of 2017, so Squadron 42 should have seen a huge amount of updates and looking a lot more pretty. But yes, it's, as I said, it's getting most of the work there. Any word on having a fixed respawn planet/city? No, and I think in the game they want it a bit more dynamic. Like, the idea is you get found and picked up and taken back to somewhere. I suppose in the future you'll probably have insurance and what to do with you when you're found. So when you die, you respawn at a particular location, or maybe you can choose what location you can spawn at. That sort of makes sense. When do you think we'll have persistent apartments locations to store our gear? So they're working on physicalized components and some of these systems. At the moment, they've been working on the iCache, which will allow for items to be much more readily stored by the system and saved by the system, and then they can start having stuff like physicalized items and physicalized true inventory. So you'll probably see that by the end of the year in some form. You won't see like your persistent physicalized apartments at that stage, but you should see persistent storage and no more sort of like infinite bags of holding on your character. Are you disappointed with the Salvage news? I just want to sort of know what the current date plans are. Are they going to be planning to work on it in a lot of detail this year or not? It's hard to tell what CIG mean. You have to sort of like interpret it as another language. Have you ever played D&D? Yes. What's your favourite class to play? Rogue. Why? Because I'm sneaky. Does Squadron 42 have a roadmap percentage of completion? Not at the moment, especially not at the moment. They sort of removed one of the roadmaps they removed the Squadron 42 roadmap because it wasn't giving us information properly. Like the Squadron 42 development is really non-linear. Well, it is linear, but the way that they had displayed it, it doesn't give us information other than they're working on it, basically. It's like, is this finished yet? Well, all of these tasks won't be finished until the game's just about to be completed. So they need a way of showing us what's going on there. But they also are supposed to have this Squadron 42 video that they had problems with a couple of weeks ago, and they haven't finished getting this video out with Brian Chambers and giving us the Squadron 42 update and all that sort of stuff. That's not done yet. There's a lot of problems with that. They're trying to get better footage for it and give us enough information to keep us happy, I suppose, as well. So we'll see that at some point, probably this month. We've got a Squadron 42 roadmap sort of monthly report update that comes out tomorrow, I think, which will give us actually quite a lot of information on Squadron, though. But they need a better way of giving us that info. From which manufacturer do you think will next see a capital ship appear? I mean, it makes sense for them to do one for a Crusader. Hi, Board, love your channel. My question is, we talked about that. Do you think there will be an increase for the Mercury Star Runner? Well, is it $225 at the moment? Could go up to $300, I suppose, once it's released. What's your opinions about the Drake Cutlass series? Isn't very good state at the moment. Just wondering your opinion on the Cutlass series. I want them to be a bit more durable. And once we have physicalized components, I suspect they will be. And they need a bit of balance and stuff like that as well. But around that time, I would expect them. I'd like the Cutlass Blue to be reasonably tough. How long would you say it is until we get live capture? Body dragging stuff, as well as multi-crew missions, and more to do with friends. Oh, so, I mean, you're going to get more and more and more and more each patch. And, I mean, like, body dragging, that's 3.10.0, so that's planned at the moment for the end of June. But there'll be more and more to do with each patch. I can't tell you when it's going to be appropriate for you to want to play, because it's going to be alpha for a while. What light fighters do you like right now? I love the Arrow, the way it looks. I think it's my favourite light fighter at the moment. Why is the Cutlass Blue a militia law enforcement ship so weak compared to size ships like the Freelancer in both shields and strength and weapon hard points? Will this change? I would expect it to see a reasonable amount of balance in the future, yeah. Do you think CIG will prevent us from putting small ships in the C2 and making it a pocket carrier? No, I think if you can get them in and you can sit them down in there, that will work. I have my eye on the Nautilus. Should I pledge for it? Will I see it ever? You'll see it at some point in the game. It's an expensive ship, though. Was it $725? It's something I'd get in-game, personally, because if you're going to be playing the game enough and you're enjoying it enough, then you'll be able to get it in-game and enjoy working for it. But that's just my opinion. How would you describe the Crusader Industries aesthetic? Close to Origin or Misk? They've very much got their own aesthetic. Sort of like industry sort of redefined and refined and... I'd have to really sit down and look at it and think. What do you know about the Pyro release and your thoughts on the Corsair release dates? I talked about that already. Do you think the Hoplite has a place when looking at the ships like the Valkyrie and the Redeemer? Yeah. I mean, it's going to have multi-role, much more so. The Redeemer is going to be much more gunship. The Valkyrie is going to be much more dropship. And that Hoplite's sort of like an interesting middle ground. When will we see personal hangars in the persistent universe? So it's going to be a little while away, in my opinion, before we see personal physicalized hangars and habs properly done in game. We might see some sort of like half-assed bodged step towards it once we have sort of like iCache and stuff like that in. But I think personalized hangars and that sort of stuff after server meshing. They mentioned that bounty hunting will involve querying databases to track down the location of bounties. Does that mean you will need to be a licensed bounty hunter to do bounty hunting? So there is supposed to be bounty hunter guilds that you can get information from and that give you a license to some degree or something like that. I think they talked about a while ago. I need to research bounty hunting again. But I think there was sort of like, being part of the Bounty Hunters Guild gives you the information that you need and you're more easily able to track down people. It will tell you the last known location that someone saw them at, stuff like that. Does the development of... But I'm not sure if you are forced to be part of a Bounty Hunters Guild to be able to do bounties. Or need a license otherwise. Does the development of Squadron 42 heavily influence the Liveverse? Yes, it does. It's the same engine. They're developing the games in tandem. They are effectively the same game. One's a single-player campaign, one's the MMO. Any idea when we will see the Kraken? Nope. Big ship, though. I bought a load of Cutlass Blues and Cutlass Reds from the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. No, the Invictus launch week. How long do you think before iCache? I think we'll see it in 3.11, so Q3 2020 is my expectation. Do you think we're going to see the Corsair this year or not? No, I don't think we'll see it this year. Each year I feel this is the time when the framework for the game will be finished and we'll see much faster development with gameplay mechanics. When do you think this will be reached? Squadron 42's release. So I think they are genuinely getting ready to push towards a Squadron 42 release date, probably sort of like early to mid, sort of, first half of 2021 is my expectation at the moment. I think that's sort of like all hands on deck for that. How do I find out if I won one of your raffles? I message the person on YouTube. I also post in my Reddit, and I typically, almost always, in my first video of the month, or one of the first videos of my month, my channel update, I talk about the next giveaway and the winner of the previous one. If someone didn't claim their prize, I probably would rattle the cage more before just re-raffling it. If ships were shown during Invictus in the holo displays, does that mean CIG is active or working on them? No. That's just the holo model of them. That could be white box, grey box, or it can be work that's ongoing on it. It doesn't mean they're currently actively working on them. Could we see the Redeemer soon? I mean, you could see it by the end of the year. Maybe. It depends on CIG's prioritizations. Bone to Connie, would you hang on to it if they announced no rework or trade it up for a different multi-crew ship? So I would trade it up for a Carrack or a Mercury Star Runner. Yeah, I'd trade it up. I'm not particularly in love with the constellations. I know some people are. I'm not a massive fan. What's the concept speculation about in the title of the video? So on CIG have done very few concept sales in recent quarters, and in fact, this year we've only had the G12 Origin rover, which was concepted, which is weird. So there's 4 concepts that CIG talked about at CitizenCon, that being a mobile refinery, a Tavaran fighter, a Xi'an cargo ship, and a mining ground vehicle. Star Citizen leaks posted up a couple of times, hinting that CIG were going to, at some point in the near future, concept this vehicle, or it was actually quite far ahead, and maybe it will be like a live release of it in 3.something, 3.10, 3.11, 3.12, whatever. They didn't give a huge amount away. They said they might give some more information away this weekend. But it's CIG are certainly going to want to run concept sales and straight to flyable ships for their patches, because they're big money earners for them. And it just seems weird that they haven't done that very much. Now, we do know that CIG have been moving towards straight to flyable in a lot of cases, which means they don't really have a concept phase. They don't talk to us about the concept phase. They just go, and this has been released with this patch as well. Haha! But it's flyable next week or in a couple of days or whatever. So a mining vehicle on the ground, I think, would sell really well. They want to have a fully polished mining gameplay loop before just entirely moving over to other gameplay. I do have a Javelin, yes. But yeah, so it's one of the things that sort of like talking about, like, I do think that a ground mining vehicle is a really good idea. But with that, you either need some form of ground gameplay or somewhere to put those mined goods easily. Spawning ships in vehicles and ships. Ships and vehicles and ships. That's sort of essential for some of this, in my opinion. And then having refineries in game as well is probably pretty important. Although you can sell the minables just as they are, I suppose. What's your most excited? What ship are you most excited for it to be released? It's not a ship. The most exciting thing I am for is the Titan suits. Do you know, Bored, do you know if stretch goals that have been taken off the chart are still going to be honoured? So stuff changes, so I don't know for sure. I suspect a lot of the stuff that is on the stretch goals list will be looked at and implemented in some way. That does not mean they will. My neck is not in a good place. About PC specs, do you think that the CPUs with more cores or high frequency would be better? So frequency doesn't hugely matter, especially well, it does to an extent, but cores and generation and frequency all sort of like need to be looked at. So I've now got a 3950X AMD Ryzen 7. So it's basically a cut-down Threadripper. It's basically what it is. And that's got, what, 32 threads? So lots and lots and lots of threads. And Star Citizen, once they get their Gen 12 renderer sort of like started to be implemented in the game properly, we'll see it scale up to, I think they said 30 threads to start with. So thread count's important. Frequency is important to a degree, but it's more generation and core count. Well, with gaming in general, single power core performance is still used a lot, but we're moving more to multi-threading now. I wouldn't just purely go for just frequency, because older generation stuff is going to be trash. So older generation stuff is going to be trash. That's not necessarily true. Even 6th gen Intels are still pretty solid. I mean, I think even like a 2nd gen i7, 2700K or something, 2600K, they're pretty solid still. Any word on having a... no, talked about that. Do you think there will be a non-military focused single-player game in the universe down the road? I think there'll eventually be modding and stuff for Star Citizen. You'll see experiences like that. I think a lot of those non-military focused Star Citizen gameplay loops will be in the persistent universe. Do you think the Mercury will ever be sex me again? So with the Mercury, it's important to know that it's still very much in development and they're building it out. So hopefully it will look great once it's done. I have started a campaign for what? A mobile artillery piece like the Paladin for Star Citizen. And what's your opinion on this? I'll have to have a look. Message me separately. I don't think I know what a Paladin is. Any idea when we'll see the updated Vandal ships in game? No. They've obviously been mostly built out for Squadron 42, and they do need to be updated in Star Citizen at some point. Are there whispers of a Connie rework, or is that next year? No, so there's no secret Constellation rework. They confirmed that the other day. They went, the reason the Taurus isn't out yet is because they just haven't had the resources to be able to put onto the Taurus to finish it. Have you heard anything about the Odin capital ship? It was discussed on the Inforunners. So I'm assuming the Odin is referencing the Hercules capital ship that is in lore. And no, I mean, obviously that's something that could come into the game in the future, or another Hercules capital ship. They obviously are going to have those big capital ship shipyards. Certainly no confirmation of that at all. Will we be able to control temperatures in our ships? I don't think so, beyond having a life support system in general, which will regulate. I don't think we'll have the granularity to be able to change the actual temperature. Do you think Squadron 42 beta will release this year? No. So even if the Squadron 42 beta is ready by the end of the year, it is an internal beta. It is for CIG, not for us. Do you think the Ares Inferno will be the better Ares once armor is actually in game? I don't know. It depends what you're going to... So all ships, I think, will be relatively well balanced for specific uses. I mean, obviously some are going to just be better than others. But like the Ares Ion, I really like the idea of it using it for average striking with a few other ones. Pew, pew, pew. Do you hope that Consolidated Outlands get some more ships? Yeah. I think they will. I think all the manufacturers will get filled out more. I just upgraded my Aurora to 325A. Any tips on ship parts? Get the weapons that you like. Gimbal all the guns so that you can run auto-gimbal. Oh dear. Lot of questions. What do we got? Do you know why server meshing is taking so long to build? Is this not something that exists in the world today? So server meshing, in the way that Star Citizen wants it, does not really exist properly in games, especially not the scale that Star Citizen wants it to be. So basically, server meshing allows them to seamlessly hand over data between servers without the client being interrupted, which is the big thing. If there was a loading screen, they could do it a lot more easy. But it's because they're literally having a ship can be its own server, and then outside the ship can be its own server, and then the planet that ship's flying around can be its own server, and all these servers can be nested in each other and sharing data, and then basically you have all this like a stitched mega server together, which then allows for tens of thousands of people to play in the same system, potentially. And they sort of bolted it on to an engine that was not appropriate for that sort of thing immediately out of the box, so they had to fully develop it. So it's taking a long time because there's a load of bits to build, and they're working towards that. Other stuff's taken priority simultaneously, though, so obviously building out all of the core of the game, as well as the netcode, as well as the servers, as well as server meshing, and that's all done at the same time, a lot of this. Do you feel it's even remotely possible that 3.10 and 3.11 will launch in their intended quarters? Yes. Well, within a week or two of it, yeah. Thoughts on the new Team Turbulent that's building? Seems pretty significant to me. Not yet. I am gathering information on Turbulent at the moment. As an estimate, how much do you think the Mercury Star Runner will cost in game? I don't know, and it's going to eventually stuff's going to be dynamically priced and change all the time. We might see the first iteration of server meshing first half of 2021. Do you think the current roadmap is realistic for 3.11.0? So there'll be changes on there. There'll be stuff removed and added. Do you think SpaceX will get to Mars before Star Citizen is released? Well, I did make the check the other day that before docking was in Star Citizen, SpaceX was able to dock.
Tricksy little hobbitses. Hey, Bored. Hope you and your family are doing well. I have loved all your coverage of Fleet Week. Some of your best stuff so far. Keep it up, Captain Potato Head.
Oh, thanks very much, Skylark. I love your face. Are you star? My family's doing pretty good, to be honest, at the moment. I'm glad you enjoyed my coverage of Fleet Week, and thanks, Captain Potato Head out. Oh, thank you, star. Thank you very much for subbing. Any word on CIG why they haven't yet added more rental ships as well as ships in game for sale? No, not yet. I'm sort of pushing for them to add ships into game quicker. So what I mean by that is that ships like the Carrack or new ships that come into game as flyable, I don't mind them being... I mean, I prefer them to be in the game immediately to be able to purchased or rented, but I don't mind them for like a quarter not being available, and then after that they're in game. But some of them haven't been put in game yet after quite a long time, and it could be that literally they're just waiting for the appropriate shop. But I do want them in game ASAP. This footage is from the Squadron 42 2017 vertical slice. What timeline do you think we're getting the Hull series into game? So I think we'll see the Hull C first, and they did talk about the Hull C. The systems to get it in game are either being worked on now or just about to be worked on. Do you think they'll be adding and updating the character creator? Yes, they said they would. They're adding more heads to it. They're making the interface better. Do you think they will have to rework some starter ships like the Mustang to support beginner missions like deliveries? No, I think they'll just have a better system for getting people missions and tweaking that stuff. Because a beginner mission, there'll be beginner missions for everything. For every sort of role, or a lot of the roles. I apologise if you've been asked this before. That's okay. I'll answer as many times as needed. Well, within reason. Why did you change your stance on accepting ships, merch, and money from CIG? So, specifically ships at the moment. I haven't accepted money from them, that's for sure, and I haven't accepted any merch from them. Lots of people were being given ships with each patch release. I would say lots of people, content creators, they're being offered a ship to give to their community. And I checked that out, and I went, no, I don't want to be part of that. But then a lot of people in my sort of chat just said, why aren't you taking them? And I thought about it and went, I don't really know. And then I messaged CIG and said, are there any strings attached to this? Because I feel uncomfortable taking stuff like that oddly. Because people can call me a shill or whatever, but I want to be able to talk about what I want to talk about without any strings attached, basically. So I'm happy to accept ships that get immediately given away, because I'd be a fool not to. I'd be a fool not to accept that. Yeah. As long as I can be fully transparent about it, and as long as there's no strings attached ever, and if there are any strings attached, I'd prefer not to be included with that. I think you skipped a lot of questions above. I will move around questions from lots of different sources. I will try and get to them in a bit. I purchased a vehicle in game from teachers, but it never appeared for me to use. Is that because part of the game still being added? Sorry, very new Star Citizen. If you purchased it from teachers, it should be available in your list of things to use. If it's a ground vehicle and you're trying to spawn it from a ship terminal, then you'll have to go to a ground vehicle terminal to spawn it. Can we assume that when the release, can we assume that when they release iCache, they will also be implementing the pipe system for ships? If not, when can we expect distortion weapons to work as intended? So they're currently working on the iCache, physicalized components, and the new resource and power systems for ships. And we can't assume that when the iCache is in, it's also going to be the same time as the pipe system. I would expect the iCache in first, then the resource system, and that could come in with physicalized components at the same time. Something that I'm hoping they all get in for this year. Will we get a firework ship? Maybe add it to the Mako. There might be firework launchers in the future, maybe. Or like a missile that's actually a firework. Do we know how many ships the team can work on at the same time? So, no, and that will change. And the reason for that is that there's a reasonable amount of people at CIG that can work on ships, or like probably like 40 or so, between 25 and 40 that can work on ships, yeah, directly on the production of ships. Now, a lot of people are going to be working specifically on Squadron 42 stuff, or on Squadron 42 locations, because they can be used for interiors of locations, the stations and stuff, not just for ships. And there's obviously more people that can do more things, but I'm talking about the more of the production and art, I suppose, and again the modelling done for those things. That changes from time to time. A lot of those people are working on Squadron stuff at the moment. Do you know anything about the new flight model that's coming in 3.10? So they're tweaking thruster efficiency curves. So you're going to see thrusters working differently in atmosphere. They're going to be a bit weaker. Actual damage to thrusters will matter a lot more as well. So if you get damaged in certain areas or the thruster breaks off, you're going to really feel that. Although your IFCS will attempt to compensate to some degree. They're making high-speed flying. So if you're going above your SCM speeds, there's going to be things that your ship can't do or is more vulnerable in some way. Maybe you can't launch countermeasures. Maybe you can't go into quantum. Maybe you can't fire missiles, things like that. Maybe you generate a lot more heat. So there's lots of other tweaks and new HUDs and stuff like that coming as well. So there's I sort of like know generally what's happening, but I don't know specifics of that until it's in our hands. I'm more of a pew pew guy or rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. I'm more of a rat-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta guy. You think they delayed the Squadron 42 video to not damper sales? No, they had a big statement on it, and they literally said, it's just not ready yet. It's just not ready. We need it to look good. We need it to have the right information in it, and we need it to have the right sort of like pretty ships and cool stuff in it. And it just wasn't ready. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to bio real quick. Can I have water? Oh, I had water. Oh. Oh. My lockdown body hates me. Ugh. What do you think about the Crusader as an all-purpose ship? I think it's pretty multi-role. I think it's sort of like an upgrade from a Cutlass for sure. Oh, whatever happened to the spider miner, the Cydnus that they had years back? The Cydnus still exists. It's not in Star Citizen yet. It's in Squadron 42, very much so. I suspect we'll see it in Star Citizen at some point. Yeah, the Cydnus mining tick. Do you think all the flyable ships that are required for Squadron 42 are already in Star Citizen? No, they've got the Hull C, for example. Do you think they will be updating the character creator? Yeah, they're adding more heads. They're going to allow you to have a bit more tweakage. Thank you very much for the money, Jordan. Yeah, that's what happens when money gets received by me. My tongue goes numb. Jordan Harding, board. When do you think we will have the ability to purchase or hire NPC crew, and when will personality depth of mission, and we'll have the personality depth of the mission givers? What? Don't know about the mission giver stuff. So we're going to get reputation eventually, and that's going to affect how mission givers react to us, I suppose, to some degree, and NPCs in general. The NPC crew. So it's going to be a while before we actually have true NPC crew that we can hire. However, they are currently working on computer systems, core computer systems, which will then lead to, in the not too distant future, AI blades, which will basically be, you can put an AI module, so effectively a computer, that will control a turret. Pew, 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 pew. And they are basically derpier AI. Derpier NPCs. But they're not NPCs. They're an AI. Buy so many spaceships.
For the network. Laughing face.
For the network! Noctaro, thank you very much for the money. I love you. Mwah. Are you star? Any chance of a new Corvette ship? Yeah, there's always a chance of that sort of thing. Who would I want to make a Corvette? Drake, probably. I love Drake. I mean, Crusader, they could probably do a pretty cool Corvette. Or do you think CIG hasn't made any more consolidated Outland ships? Because they're supposed to be sort of like this new manufacturer, and the Pioneer was a big thing for them. They'll probably flesh them out more in the future. What's your favourite fighter right now? Ooh. I do love the Saber. Got a little bit of, quite a bit of love for the Ares Ion as well now. Will the Mercury Star Runner increase in price when it's flight ready? Possibly. It's $225 now. I think it could go up to $300. What's likely is that its war bond price will stay at $225, and it'll go up to maybe like $250 to $280 sort of thing for normal bond. What's your prediction on a full release? I'm thinking 2025, but it won't have all 100 systems. Yes, I think that's quite reasonable for Star Citizen. For something close to a full release, there's going to be a load of stuff that's not done yet, and not completed, and not fully fleshed out. But they can add on that more modularly. But I think that they'll be close to if not able to release an on-the-shelf release at that time. In your opinion, should I keep my Polaris even if I'm not sure I can crew it? I'm thinking about melting it and buying back my 600i and getting an Argo Mole. It's up to you. I love the Polaris. If you can't crew it, that's an issue. But you might be able to crew it in the future. If you already got it. I mean, see what they're going to do with NPC crew and the AI blades. See if that becomes more viable. Do you think the Star Citizen is ever going to be an ultra graphic setting in Star Citizen? Maybe. I mean, it's sort of irrelevant. They're going to make it hugely more scalable and have a load more options in the future, especially when they've got their Vulkan integration and stuff like that. Will the 12 SCU in the Vulture be enough to not having to empty your cargo for salvage every so often? Yes, so I think the idea is that it's got salvage cargo containers as well. Yeah, is that right for the Vulture? I'll have to double check. But it is supposed to be a light salvage ship. I expect it to be able to make a good amount of money. It's not going to be like, well, it's too time prohibitive to ever make any money from this ship. Why can't the Prospector be getting any paint job love? It will eventually. All ships will be able to eventually have their paints and skins done. Do you think the G12 will end up not being so humongous once it's done? I mean, they might tweak it a little bit more, but it is supposed to be smaller than Ursa Rover, but bigger, well, at least wider than a Tumbrel Cyclone. Is there any merit to melting everything on my account, $1,000 to $3,000, and waiting to purchase ships until beta, or holding ships? It's better to have the ships as ships on your account, in my opinion, because they might change in value. Do you think we will have the option to keep the old design scythe and glaive? No. They'll just upgrade. They'll just update them. Any information on the Orion? Big mining ship. Doubled in size. CIG haven't talked much more about it. I suspect it's quite a while away. Is Quantum the AI economy and universe simulation in active development? Yes. Board, how do you project a video past you on the green screen? What? I do. What? When's the Theatres of War game mode coming? So there's a Theatres of War AMA on Wednesday at 6:30 UTC. So that's on the Spectrum forums, and Sean Tracy and a few others are going to be answering questions there. I'd expect to see another Theatres of War Evocati test this month, maybe a couple. That's my expectation, and probably going up to wider tests and more weekends when it is in a good state. But I think they're probably not too far away from having more eyes on Theatres of War. When do you think we'll see more Crusader ships, especially the Ares fighter? It depends on their priorities and what they're working on at the moment. Obviously, the Crusader sort of like ship line, they're working on the Mercury Star Runner for 3.11, and I suspect we'll see the C2 Hercules in 3.12, so the Q4 2020 patch, and then potentially Q1 2021. Maybe you see the Ares. That's the sort of thing I expect. Shite, now that I've obtained a privateer, I will be opening Shite's Ship Shop. That's a beautiful alliteration. All are welcome, opening 585... What? Thanks, bud, and thank you for all you do in the community. Thank you very much, Shite, much appreciated. Are you star? Thank you. I do appreciate people chucking money at me for very little work, just answering questions. Thank you. Are there any rewards that we can get from Squadron 42 in the live Star Citizen universe? So the idea is that when Squadron 42 is released, obviously, you'll when you get to certain stages in Squadron 42 or do certain things, you'll have access to potentially purchase military gear and equipment or specific things, or have more contacts to purchase these things in the Star Citizen persistent universe. Do you, as I believe that backers would be just as happy if there's just a sale, that no one really cares about that Invictus Week or Area Expo or whatever? Oh, no, I disagree. So I really enjoyed seeing ships that aren't necessarily available. So seeing stuff on hologram, seeing stuff in an expo is cool if they do it right. Seeing the Idris and the Javelin and the F8s, and then being able to interact with them, get sort of like attack them, glitch them, do silly things to them, that is what I live for. So there's a lot of stuff there I really, really enjoyed. They don't have to be crazy. They don't have to be like super complicated events or take a huge amount of time to have these events. Hey dude, updated view on the Star Rover versus Gemini debate? Nope, not yet, because we need fuel in-game first. We need being able to mine fuel and be able to sell fuel to other players. And once that's happened, I will have more of an opinion. Do you think CIG still intends to have Two personal NPCs for 2 game packages. No, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know if there's going to be benefits for having game packages on your account. Or exactly what those would be if you do have multiple game packages on an account. Redeemer as a surprise release soon, maybe? Question mark. I mean, they could get it in by the end of the year if they start working on it. But it is indeed speculation. How many systems are planned for Squadron 42? And would it be released with Squadron 42? Well, that stuff will be released in the persistent universe at the same time. So we don't know how many systems are released for Squadron 42. We've only seen one, the Odin system. Really, I mean, you could argue that we've seen Vega as well, but really, it's just the Odin system we've seen. That we know that it, at least a large portion of the story is there. Those items can be released into Persistent Universe after Squadron 42's release. Yeah, that seems reasonable, though we don't know their exact plans. Any news on the Banner Merchantman? CIG have said very little on it. It looks like they're probably doing the Polaris first and then moving on to the Banner Merchantman. So sort of what it looks like. Just played Star Citizen. The flight controls are hurting my head. Do you think they have overcomplicated it compared to the old days? I don't think it's overly complicated. But then I have been playing for ages, so... Do you support smuggler torpedoes? Torpedoes designed to hold small amounts of cargo that can be deployed past blockades. Yeah, for the big ones, that sounds like a really cool idea. Fake torpedoes, that's cool. Have you thought about the impact of PS5 and Xbox Series X superfast SSD streaming technology? I mean, I think it's possible that we could see, especially Squadron 42, on next-gen consoles.
Here you go. Enjoy my money's hard.
Lorenzo Key, thank you so much for the money. I will enjoy your money. Don't know what that was about, but thanks for the money. Are there any features when implemented that you think will require a hard database reset, iCache, Salvage? Yeah. Lots of features like iCache, like server meshing. Quite likely to require a hard reset. Any news on... No, I've talked about that already. I think Star Citizen could use a procedural character generator similar to what's used in Sea of Thieves. I don't know what they use for Sea of Thieves, but you'll see procedural physicalization character generator for NPCs. Board, how much do you know about how info running will work? What information will we be able to sell? We don't 100% know yet. It will be locations of stuff. They'll be part of missions. There'll be various types of data like science data and data that has value. The data is cargo. And we don't know exactly how the mechanic's going to work yet. How much do you think this Mercury Star Runner will cost in game? We don't know, as I said. It's going to be dynamic for prices for all the ships eventually. I'd expect it to, in the current thinking, probably be about 4 million, 4 or 5 million. Yeah, close to probably about 5 million FUVC. I was under the impression that multiple game packages resulted in customizable NPCs. No, so they had said that might be a thing originally, but they haven't really given us much more in the way of information for that. And they sort of like the closest I can understand from what CIG want from that at the moment is that they don't know. So the best I can advise you is we don't know what we're going to get with having multiple game packages on your account. What was your favourite day during Invictus? Aegis Day, Kalukale. I mean, just Javelins and Idris being on sale was sort of like quite exciting, and seeing them instantly sell. I'm sort of like, I love Star Citizen for the project, not just the game. So, Chris Cornell, Chris Carroll, thank you very much, sir. Don't know why I changed your name when I first said it, but I did. Thank you very much for becoming a bored citizen. Oh, you star. When Squadron 42 releases, will it be Star Citizen Squadron 42 Alpha or be a full game? So Squadron 42 should be released as a full game, as far as I'm aware. Is there any nils? Is there any info when we will see the 3.12/4.0 card added to the roadmap? No, not yet. Though I would expect to see it either at the end of this month or after 3.10.0 goes live. Do you think they'll release the whole of Pyro at once? Sort of. Like, you'll get the whole system. I'm not, and I suspect we'll get all the planets there. I'm not sure. There's probably going to be other points of interest and lots of procedural content that will come later. That'll be true of all the systems as they build up more and more procedural content and points of interest, all that sort of stuff. Without going into too much detail, what are the top developmental barriers that need to be completed before the game's production can be projected a little smoother? They need to get Squadron 42 out the door. That is the major barrier. Do you think the Corsair would be a good step before the Carrack? Yes. It is a cheap Carrack. It's more competing with the Constellation Aquila, but it is a cheap Carrack as well, I suppose. Do you think they'll release the Hull C this year? It's a possibility. I'm hoping they do. What org are you in? Lots of them. I'm in a BoredGamer org as well, and Nomad Black, which is going to be the my sort of like serious one. What's your visual interface for Star Citizen? A single large monitor is what I use for Star Citizen. Any idea how to get started or recognised on as a new Star Citizen YouTube channel? Yeah, so watch loads of other people's streams and content creators' videos to get ideas. Comment on people's streams and YouTube videos. Not spamming or anything, but generally engaging. So you want to become known in the community for being helpful, useful, and friendly, and not a spam artist.
Case scenario for Star Citizen. Years delay. Huge rollback on features. Keep selling ships in a never-ending update cycle.
So the worst case scenario is that it gets all goes tits up and the company implodes, or there's like a terrible nuclear winter over the world and it becomes irrelevant. The internet goes down permanently from solar flares. That's sort of like the worst things that could happen. But realistically, yeah, huge amounts of delay and years and years and years and years. Some roll back on features, but sort of like Star Citizen is going to be a long development, and some of the features are going to be different from how you envision them, and how I envision them, and how everyone that I talk to envisions them. So to sort of bear that in mind. Thank you very much, Greekis. Thank you very much for the money for asking that question. Very much appreciated. But yeah, so Star Citizen content creation and stuff, you want to get involved with other people's streams and content, answer people's questions, talk on their YouTube videos, get known in the community, answer people's questions on Reddit. Don't post your videos as replies or anything like that. Don't spam, but get well known, get good ideas. When you start making your videos, understand that they might be trash to start with and you can evolve them. I mean, some people's aren't trash to start with, but mine certainly fucking were. I mean, you could argue that mine still are, but people like my style to some degree, such as this style is. I say, I've got a Haskahar t-shirt on. So I love Haskahar. I think he's great. His screenshots and videos are great. Just keep working at it. Start to understand YouTube. Watch videos on how YouTube works and tags. Make sure your tags and titles and stuff evolve. Don't clickbait, and feel free to make your thumbnails and your titles as clickable as possible and as interesting to possible to click on. But make sure they are totally relevant to the content. If people are clicking on it and going, this isn't what I expected to see, then you've done something wrong, and that's bad. What's my favourite upcoming mechanics? I want Salvage. Give me Salvage. In 3.10, I want to see the Idris mission. The Idris combat mission. I was thinking about ship interplay. Should I be able to mine ore in my prospector, refine it at a refinement deck, and then load the refined material into my merchantman? Yes. That's the sort of thing they want you to be able to do in the future. What else have we got here? You think there's a chance that Squadron 42 and Star Citizen could come to next-gen consoles? Yes. Sorry, Perfect Code, if I sort of merged your question into someone else's question as well. Have you thought about the impact of PS5 and Xbox Series X super-fast SSD asset stream technology and what it could have when the tech comes to PC if Star Citizen were to utilize it? No. Because you're still going to be bottlenecked at GPU and CPU, typically. But I don't think it's going to overly affect the amount of resources that they can use and how they build games. But maybe I'm wrong. Will the Constellation Phoenix still get its point defense system and size 2 missiles? So I believe, I can't remember about the missiles, the point defense system is going to be an AI blade and a turret, I believe. I believe it will get that turret in the future, maybe, probably. I think that's what they said. Will Squadron 42 players get military uniforms in the persistent universe or badges or something? And they're supposed to be gear and benefits for completing or playing Squadron 42 in the universe, but we're not entirely sure what that's going to be beyond having access to an F8C Lightning or being able to buy one. I heard that the Mercury Star Runner will come with a G12 rover. How badly was I lied to? I have not heard that. I don't think it will. They're not going to retroactively give you a vehicle. And why would Crusader give you an Origin vehicle? I mean, that could happen, but... Do you think CIG could or should sell a Golden Bengal for $1 million? I don't think they'd be able to sell stuff like that. Like, they shouldn't either. Anything planned for your 150,000 sub milestone? I didn't really mind about sub milestones. I only wanted 100,000 subs. Maybe in 5 years' time, I'll be like, near 1 million. That'd be fucking good, wouldn't it? Hey, much love for your content. Keep up the good work. Any idea when we can expect the Corsair? So no, not really. I think if they're working on it now, you could see it early 2021, if you're lucky. We will not get specialist men's interest parlors. No. Might be implied, but I doubt it. Hey, Board. What was Drake's big surprise they worked on for DefenseCon? Probably the Cutlass Blue. And the fact that they were at the Invictus Flight Week, Launch Week, whatever the fuck it's called. Do you think we'll have volumetric clouds on planets? Yeah, I think we'll see volumetric clouds on planets. Yeah, that makes sense. Both for weather and for areas of atmosphere. And there's obviously ground fog as well. So I've missed this. What's your guess to roles as UAVs will play in Salvage, such as the form of the Reclaimer? Do you think they'll be able to do all 4 forms of Salvage? No, I think they're going to have very specific tasks, and I think that you're going to have them scouting out Salvage. Don't know. I don't know. I think they might be involved, or can be involved in the Salvage process for all 4 branches. So for the people that don't know, there's 4 branches of salvage. There's hull scraping, which is literally sucking the hull off things, removing the hull and then making that into like a block of material. There is more salvage, which is sort of like chunks of ship hull, crunching it down and making it into like a little package. There's removal of systems, so taking off a ship's weapons or like power plants, taking them out and taking them back. And then there is siphoning, which is the sucking in of gas and liquids and stuff like that. So that can be oxygen, that can be water, that can be fuel. Those are the 4 types. And we're expecting to have salvage drones, which will be involved in the process of that in some way in the future. When will we be able to name all our ships? We don't know, but that is planned functionality. Probably when we get the ability to aftermarket customization of our ships. What's your go-to method of alpha UEC generation? Mining. Quantanium mining. I think they'll probably get the Hull A and Hull B pretty quick into game after Hull C's released. Any rumours when team play will be pushed? I mean, automatic formation flights, easy to see nav points for your wingmen, working co-op missions, etc. They're working on it now. They're going to iterate on that sort of stuff. They want to get multi-crew gameplay in. They want to get sharing locations and stuff like that in. It's all super important for them. A lot of that stuff is actually HUD-based, and they've got that new building box system in now, and that should be stuff that they can deal with and start getting into our hands to make the game more of a multiplayer game. Yeah, they will update the website and the ship matrix with more accurate information. Obviously, it's a bit annoying now. What do you think will come first? Reclaimer with salvage gameplay or Vulture with salvage gameplay? I think it'll be hand salvage first, in my opinion. And then it's possible that both ships could come simultaneously with salvage. I think Vulture salvage is more simple to do, the hull scraping, than it is to have the Reclaimers more salvage. More as in more. Do you think the Merchantman and a CT Hercules is a good combination? I mean, it depends what you want to do. If you've got friends to fly them, yeah. I think that maybe the Merchantman crosses over with the C2. If you want to drop ground vehicles, C2, great. If you want to do trade and be a bit of a floating shop, Merchantman. Hauling, ooh. What do you think about permadeath? Should we still have it in the game, considering how tough it will be? I think it'll be fine. It's like you're not going to just instant die. You're going to have multiple lives. You're going to see a character get damaged, and you'll probably have to heal a character up somehow by paying like insurance or whatever. So it's not just going to be super unforgiving. It's not going to be Tarkov. What new hires do you think CIG can benefit from the most, and what benefit do you think CIG will gain from additional funding this year? AI, people that can do AI programming and network stuff. Those are the 2 main things, in my opinion. CIG are going to make huge amounts of money. They made $15 million, the most they've ever made in a month, last month. And that's during a load of stuff going wrong. So it's insane, isn't it? So, Jeremy, I hear that they've been breaking ships for salvage since every ship's inception. Yeah, so that's although partly true, they've been having ships be able to be broken apart, and like the explosions and derelicts and stuff of those ships, salvaging them for the more requires them to be broken up into potentially smaller parts than that. So, think we'll have salvage areas around some planets that we can get parts from if you're searching for them. So actually, it's funny you say that. So the salvage here was supposed to be from like a station, but the designer that put in tons of it, just a huge amount, like a huge salvage, like tons and tons of salvage, so much salvage, and it was like, fuck it, keep it in. So that will be changed, I suspect. So you'll just have this like much less. But there might there's salvage yards in game now in the persistent universe, and maybe you'll be able to buy second-hand parts there eventually and things like that. Maybe you will be able to. Well, one of the salvage methods is going to be literally cutting away old components and things. What you worth in the next step is for server capacity, seeing we only have 50 per server currently. When do you think it'll be upgraded? There's a load of stuff they're working on at the moment. We could see servers go up before server meshing's in, but expect it for tier 1, first time they implement server meshing, which I would expect to see first half of 2021. And then they can actually have quite a lot more people in game. I wanted to show some stuff off, actually. So I want to show, is it Sarah McCullough? It is Sarah McCullough, okay. So I forgot to include this in my video today. So she's going to be doing Star Citizen Live this week. I think it's a dev one as well, so she'll be designing something or talking about something. And she's been involved with a load of the ships. She's a ship and vehicle designer. But so looking at this and the stuff she's been involved with, so like Mercury Star Runner, she's got some great shots of that on her art station. It's got like the Hammerhead, the Tumble Ranger, the Argo SRV, things like that she's been involved with. And I think, oh, that's really cool. But I did also see, okay, and there's no disrespect here, there's only respect. So I was like, I looked at this and went, oh, this is a really cool Robo-Dog and very Mercury Star Runner, right? It's like, oh, this is pretty cool. Dedicated to my beloved dog who I lost a month ago. I will be doing more with this project in the future, but for now it's a sneak peek. That was a couple of years ago, but I just went, oh. I mean, and then I thought about it and I went, actually, that's actually quite a sweet thing to do as an artist to immortalise something like that. I thought it was a bit weird and then quite cool. And as I said in my video, if when I pass, someone can immortalise me as in some form of concept art. Kara V2. Oh, that's very good. There's some cool like Wipeout type ships. She's had a hand in designing. Very cool stuff there. Yeah, she's is it 6:30? UTC maybe? Question mark. Let's have a look. When is it? 5 PM UTC. Sarah McCullough on Friday for a Star Citizen Live. So check that out. Yeah. Is there anything else I majorly wanted to show? Oh, Star Citizen's, let's show their funding. So this isn't the chart I would get my funding information from. I get it from a spreadsheet that grabs it directly. Is this actually it? This is it, yeah. So I get my Star Citizen information for their funding from here. The crowdfunding development spreadsheet version 2, because it literally grabs pledges every hour and I get a much more accurate sort of like look at day-to-day pledging. But this is fine for our purposes. So throughout last month, they made over $15 million, which is an insane amount of money. And Star Citizen has been making huge amounts of money throughout this year. It looks like it's a low amount, but that low amount is $4 million a month, these lines. Over $4 million. Over $4 million a month. And here, obviously, we've got 12 million almost, 11 million. It's an insane amount of money. More money month on month than it has previously. And you can see it here, better visualized. So, and comparisons with January, almost twice the amount they made in January, over twice the amount they made in February, over twice, or almost twice the amount they made in March. And then April, look at April. It's like, no, May. That's what I look at. Blah, 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 blah. April. And then May, what? 8 times more than they previously made? It's insane! It's an insane amount of money. And CIG Star Citizen just seems to be becoming a bit more of even more of a funding beast than it was to quite some degree. Like it is. And they haven't been selling huge amounts of concept ships or anything. They had a sale. And I think they've realised that the big sales and big events actually are really good for them. It's an interesting one. I think as Star Citizen gets more and more developed and they start to show more and more what they can actually unleash, and development becomes, you think, actually, this game's going to be created in my lifetime. As that becomes more apparent to people, and Star Citizen gets a bit more exposure, even if that exposure is negative, it brings more eyes to Star Citizen, which then some of those people will convert over to, oh, actually, I quite like this project, or, oh, in like 3 years' time, oh, actually, I got a Star Citizen account, I'll buy something. Yeah, so yeah, Fortnite made a ridiculous amount of money constantly, and it's huge Fortnite. Everyone is doing well though. I'm going to dash off in a minute because I need to eat and have some food and check on my parents. Not sure if this was answered really, but what do you think is the best bang for buck for Vanguard ships? The Hoplite. Just because it's cheaper. Hull scraping seems odd. Is there a real life equivalent? I mean, people steal the lead pipes and copper pipes and roofs. It sort of makes sense. It's valuable material that's easy to grab. What time does Fleet Week end today? I think it's at 7 PM UTC. So in an hour and a half, I think? Maybe? Question mark? Although the free fly... No. I think it might all end at the same time, actually. Bored, but aren't all the money going into development, so they aren't making any revenue, right? So they've spent more money than they earned in the last couple of years. Well, we can have a look at this. So it will change from year to year. Like, you don't want them to be spending all their money all the time, but you do want them to be spending all of that money on development at some point. So let's bring up the fine. Cool. Okay. So, for example, you can see, like, end of 2018, they made almost 49 million. They made so much money last month. Okay, sorry, they made 49 million, but they spent 56 million. Yeah, in that same year. So it goes up and down. Sometimes they spend more, sometimes they spend less. But all of that money should be going into development at some point. That could be advertising as well, I suppose. So it's all going to be spent on the game. It's not going to be drawn out as dividends, as far as I'm aware. I'm fine with CIG paying their top earners and stuff a good wage for sure. I'm not sure how I would feel if they started drawing loads of dividends out in addition to big wages. As long as I get a great game, I think that's going to be good. I do think they should be rewarded for their work, for sure. You fly naked, do you? That's still done? You monster. We should get a BoredGamer logo on all the ship crates. I agree. I want my logo in game. Charge CIG little tiny royalties fees every time anyone plays. I'm pretty sure you're immortalized in the game. The game's got potatoes. No, not yet. One day. As long as there's a potato in there, I'm fine. Right. Any other questions to quickly answer? How much is CIG spending a month? We don't know. We don't know for this year yet. Claris before Salvage? Question mark. I hope that Salvage comes first. ETA on Kraken Light release, we don't know. I mean, you could see it by the end of next year, though, I suppose. So 3.12 is supposed to be by December. So the Q4 2020 patch is going to be mid to late December. The Q3 patch, which will be 3.11, that will be end of September at the moment. And the 3.10.0 patch is currently pegged for the end of June, so end of this month. Do you know if the game will eventually get a decal system for your ships? I think so. That's sort of been implied. So there's going to be aftermarket customization. I suspect there will be at least decals that CIG have vetted for use in-game. But you'll be able to like put your name on your ship and you'll be able to colour your ship and stuff like that. That's the sort of aftermarket customization we're expecting. Will they support farming in the future? Yeah, they want to have farming in the game. They've talked about changing the topsoil on certain things on planets, and there's the Endeavour, which is going to have biodomes. I suspect that outposts you can deploy, some of them will be for farming. Question, synced on the capital hangar reveal, or has that been seen before? What? Psyched on the capital hangar. What? Capital hangar reveal? I haven't seen the capital hangar reveal. Or have I? What have we seen? Are you okay with Aaron Roberts' wage, considering he got fired from running Squadron 42? He didn't get fired from running Squadron 42. Brian Chambers is focusing on Squadron 42. Aaron's focusing on Persistent Universe now. What does he do to earn it? So Aaron Roberts is one of the genuine key figures in CIG, and I think he helps rein Chris in. He's got genuine experience in building games in a more modern era, and he's one of the reasons the project started to change from being quite inefficient to a lot more efficient, and actually started producing a lot more results. So at least in my opinion, and from what my understanding is, and from seeing it and actually meeting him a few times. When we get ship docking, it's planned for... Double check, make sure it's still there. Is 3.11, so the end of September for the Q3 2020 patch. It's currently where it's pegged. We know the Hull C is ready except for the cargo tech, box size and spinal graphics when it transforms, but once the C gets done, do you think the Hull D will follow? No, I think the Hull A and B will follow first, and Hull D and E are really large, but I do think they will get released at some point, obviously, but I think they're further out than the C, A and B. What hangar module, if any, can I spawn a carrack? I don't know. I have not used the hangar module properly for fucking ages. Ted, sorry. Right. What are you expecting from Star Citizen leaks on the weekend? I don't really know. They'll probably maybe talk a little bit more about the information they've got on the mining vehicle that's being worked on. How will data runs differ from other types of cargo runs? We don't entirely know how the data running mechanics are going to work, beyond that you have computer, you have storage in that computer, and you'll be able to, some of the ships will be able to blank that data, actually remove it. So to expect to see the first iterations of it, more of it like mission-based. So find this data, store this data, take this data to here, sort of things. Very basic to start with. Have they said when we'll get the roadmap updates to Squadron 42? No, so on Wednesday we're getting a Squadron 42 and Persistent Universe monthly report, which will give us some information in general. The Squadron 42 roadmap updates more generally, they're working on a way to give that to us, but they haven't given us a time frame of when they're going to start to give that to us. They're working on it. And the Squadron 42 video that they promised us is being made. That's going to have like Brian Chambers updating us, but it requires more work. So I would expect to see it this month, but I don't know when. Jacko, thank you very much. Thanks for your hard work, Board. Quick question, would you consider having the Ares? Yes, I would. And what version? The Ion. The reason I want the Ion, I actually have both. The reason I like the Ion more is because I like alpha striking ideas. It's a very pew-pew ship that can help support other ships, or if you want to do some sneaky things like you would in Eve, a few of them alpha striking a target as it comes out of like a jump point or something. Sorry, that's an email. What have we got? I'm going to dash off in a second, but I will answer a couple more questions. If Aaron Roberts left Squadron 42 to run Persistent Universe, what does Todd Pappy do? He's design director. For... Is he design director for everything? Is it or just Foundry 42, I suppose? When will we see more use out of the multi-tool outside of mining? Well, you sort of already... Okay. So, they're adding a cutting tool for it. That's why I suspect that we're going to have hand salvage soon. But you're probably about to cut open doors and things like that as well, or cut away certain components for missions. They're also adding a gravity attachment for it as well, for moving boxes that are larger than you're able to push-pull. Right, that's done there. When Beluga Space Whales... mate, I'm already in-game. I'm already in-game now. No one noticed the Capital hangar during the Drake Expo Invictus Week. Oh, the actual hangar that it was in. Oh, I see what you mean. Do you think the Kraken would fit in that hangar? Yeah, maybe, actually. No, it's quite big, the Kraken. It was a big hangar. I see what you mean. It was an actual capital-sized hangar. Where does all the money come from? Lots of new backers or old rich ones? I mean, I could look at the data in more detail at some point when I actually have it available to me. But it's a mixture. It's obviously some whales, some backers deciding to upgrade their packs, and a lot of new backers as well. Who are you calling old? I'm pretty good looking, puppy dog. Thanks. I appreciate that. When will they add a feature to be able to players to build settlements? So they are going to be adding outposts at some point. The Pioneer will be able to build outposts. There might be other ways as well, but I wouldn't expect us to have anything like that until after server meshing. So you're talking at least a year or two before they even consider starting to put those mechanics in properly. Right, I am going to dash off. So I need to eat. I also need to check on my parents. Thank you very much for watching today. My editor's going to be doing some videos for me over the next few days. I'm going to start to expand out some of the videos I do. So there's going to be a mixture of quite short, snappy ones that will cover very specific topics like I did today. Sort of this week in Star Citizen, what's coming this week in Star Citizen. Literally going more over what CIG is saying they're going to do, and some of the news associated with that, what you can get involved with this week, bam, 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 and then snappier videos on each individual topic for Inside Star Citizen. What was this about? The reworked Armistice Zones, whatever, not the Armistice Zones. Restricted areas. Couldn't find the words, and things like that. So breaking videos down into smaller little chunks and just little bits, throwing them at people because I don't want to be as small as Nubify, but I do want to be able to have stuff a bit more compartmentalized. And there's going to be longer form gameplay ones. There's going to be ones that do a bit more of a deep dive. There might be ones that are a bit more ranty, but I'm going to be expanding out more and more content. And have more videos going on about Star Citizen every day. And yeah. Thank you very much for people chucking a load of money at me. Thank you very much for staying and asking questions. It really genuinely helps. Are we expecting a 3.9.2 to roll out? No. Well, that's a good point. I would expect just an updated 3.9.1 to close that stuff off. Not an actual technical new patch that requires downloading. So at the moment you're looking at the Squadron 42 vertical slice from 2017. The Star Citizen single player campaign. But I am dashing off. I'm going to find someone to stream, to host. Who else is online? We are going to host Maya, because I promised I would host Maya next time. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate the money. I feel guilty now that I'm dashing off. We will host Maya in a second. Or at least raid him. Any other questions that are important to answer very quickly? Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. No, I think we're good. If people have got any questions or any feedback for me or anything I can help with or anything they need me to know, whatever, contact at boredgamer.co.uk will get through through to me. If you want to email me. And on the Discord, just drop me a message on Discord. And thanks so much for watching. Love you guys. Thanks very much for helping me build my channel, be able to do what I love, which is play games, play Star Citizen, chat about games, and help keeping me sane during lockdown. Yeah, you take care, guys. You keep sane as well. I hope that you and yours are doing well, and I'll see you soon. /raid Mayaru. Cool. Peace out, guys. Love your faces. Talk to you soon. Mwah.